This is pretty funny. Let's watch this. There's a this and is she the one who beat Max Rose? This Congresswoman?
Yes.
Okay. So her name is Nicole
Malliotakis.
Thank you.
It's a tough one.
And she beat Max Rose in Staten Island. And here she is explaining to Erin Burnett why she didn't certify the election, because somehow in Staten Island, she got wind of all these shenanigans taking place in other states.
Yeah, and shockingly, there are Trump supporters on Staten Island.
Well, that's not shocking on Staten Island, but go ahead.
Yes, I'm joking.
Can't hear it.
Yep, no sound.
Brendan has a sound issue today.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Matt, you might have to play it because this is just.
Okay, give me one.
Let me take some IMs and then I'll set that up when you have it, Matt. Gambling is a sin. Emma, do you know that you have a perfect 5-star rating on WikiFeet?
Jesus Christ. This is my,
What is that from?
I'm sure I was wearing like heels at some event and they got a picture
that's
of my
ridiculous. Feet. Cheeto, please ask the president about the new Ghostbusters monster. What does he think about him? Zopani, sorry, should say died of what? Zopani, I'm sorry. Whatever you wrote before that did not show up. Matty Moron, very pleased to learn that James is from our neck of the woods. Love the vid he did for the bug main. Demian, okay, Brendan's going to rejoin. Did anyone ever figure out why Donald Trump stands like he's in the front half of a centaur? James Austin Johnson does a pretty killer Biden, too. Brad Stein really trying to deliver like Carlin. It's terrible. Sam's hanging Chad. Is it just me or is there some obvious chemistry between Sam and Digby? Sam and Digby, K-I-S-S-I-N-G. Go for it, Sam. Digby lives across the country and is married. So, Hadub, we've seen hundreds of hours of Brad Stein on the Go Off Kings at this point, and I'm pretty sure his comedy has been the same for 30 years, like the exact same material. Bottom structure. As someone who grew up going to church for 10 plus hours a week and isn't a practitioner of any religion, there are times when I wonder if I should go find a radical Christian church to network and develop counter movement to the right-wing evangelicals who are dominating the space and controlling the narrative from Christian groups. I mean, there's been attempts at this, at least, as long as I've been doing this. I mean, we had a guy, gosh, I can't remember his name now, who had a show on Air America, the weekend show. Attempting to sort of, and I just think that this, I think that what has happened, and I think to a certain extent, James sort of expressed it, is that as religion, broadly speaking, loses its allure to people, just because I think progress does that. I mean, and there becomes more things to, people become more emancipated. There becomes more things that people can guide in their lives, and religion's losing adherence. It is morphing in some way to sort of be like to attach to broader identities, and it becomes more of a signifier that you hold a set of beliefs that are not narrowly tailored to theology, but also extend to social stuff.
I mean, this is sort of the creation of whiteness out of Christianity in American history, just on another version of it, right? Like it was, we're all Christians, and then slowly it became like, oh, we're all white, and because the Christianity parts seemed less important.
What do you have that clip, Matt?
I do. Yep.
Okay. All right. So this clip here. All right. Let me just set this up. This is Nicole Malliotakis. She is from Staten Island, New York. For those people who don't know, Staten Island is the only right-wing borough of New York, and on top of which, it is not in Pennsylvania or in Wisconsin or in Georgia or in Nevada, where supposedly the election was stolen. So I'm not sure how she knows about this, but maybe she has some inside scoop. Let's listen to her. She's on Erin Burnett.
I'm just wondering, do you, when you look back and are honest with yourself, do you feel that you sort of bought into a narrative here that we all know is completely false? I mean, the president's out there saying 5,000 dead people voted in Georgia. 2 dead people voted in Georgia. But it was rhetoric like that that got people like you on board. Do you feel you were duped?
Well, I think that there is an issue that there are tens of millions of Americans who are concerned about whether there are safeguards in our election process.
But they're concerned because of lies like that. But they're concerned because of lies like that. That is a lie. They heard that. If I heard that and believed it, I might be concerned too. But it's not true.
Well, that is why we have to have that is why we should be having a hearing into the process to see what safeguards are needed. Where were these prior convictions that took place in various states? How do we make the system better? How do we restore the faith of the American people that when they go to vote, their vote does count and it matters? That is what this is all about. And if we can have a public hearing about it, a discussion and a debate on the House floor instead of attacking people personally, I think we would actually get somewhere.
I just want to make sure that you are clear. There was no widespread fraud. There is no question about what happened in this election. And that is very different than saying we want to make sure that every vote counts that should count and every vote that shouldn't. Those are 2 very different things to talk about.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. And I've never said anything about widespread fraud. I've said that there have been certain irregularities that need to be looked at closer and that the American people deserve to know if that took place in this election, and it appears that it did in certain states, and that is all we're asking for. And I think that's very fair, and that would just ease the minds of tens of millions of Americans who feel that the election wasn't fair. So let's just, I think that that's something worthwhile to be looking at and spending time.
Just one final point on this. Those tens of millions of Americans think that it wasn't fair because Donald Trump told them that, and that voice of Donald Trump was amplified by other people in power. Okay? Because the reason they believe it wasn't fair is because someone told them it wasn't fair, and it was fair.
Maybe they should have a hearing on why people like Nicole Malliotakis said there was that the election needs to be investigated.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, she's like a broken record. She has no other way to turn, nowhere to turn, because Erin Burnett is just saying there was no fraud. Well, we need to have hearings to determine. Why do you need to have hearings if there's no evidence?
We need to have hearings because I've been saying that there's fraud, and we need to show that there is no fraud. In other words, they're basically saying, like, we need to show the American public so they have some sense of, like, assuredness that we don't know what we're talking about.
No, it's so clear why they want to have hearings on this. And fortunately, because the hold both chambers, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Like, they need to cover their own ass. And the whole issue here is that they look like clowns. I mean, she has to go back to her constituents and she'll be up for re-election in 2 years, less than that.
She'll do fine. She'll do fine. In Staten Island, she's going to do fine.
Well, I mean, they did have Max Rose at one point, and Max Rose lost his election by running against AOC and defund the police.
I know it. You can't play into those right-wing narratives.
And he won, by the way, the first time around by running on the corruption of his Republican opponent and how much money he took from big money interests, then turned it around saying, I love our cops, and then lost to that clown that was just interviewed by Burnett right there.